Todd Starnes at Fox News. This guy, Todd Starnes, is really a good guy. He really is. This is from yesterday. Soldiers attending a pre-deployment briefing at Fort Hood, of all places, say they were told that evangelical Christians and members of the Tea Party were a threat to the nation, and that any soldier donating to those groups would be subjected to punishment under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. A soldier who attended the October 17th briefing told me the counterintelligence agent in charge of the meeting spent nearly a half hour discussing how Notice, if they talked about radical Muslims, that group CARE would be barking all over the place. How evangelical Christians and groups like the American Family Association were tearing the country apart, quote unquote. Michael Berry, an attorney with the Liberty Institute, is that our buddy? I don't know, is advising the soldier and has launched an investigation into the incident. I don't think it is the Michael Berry I know on the air, on the great KTRH. The American public should be outraged that the U.S. Army is teaching our troops that evangelical Christians and Tea Party members are enemies of America and that they can be punished for supporting or participating in those groups, said Berry, a former Marine Corps JAG officer. These statements about evangelicals being domestic enemies are a serious charge. Now back to Todd Starnes. He said, the soldier told me he fears reprisals and asked not to be identified. Do you believe this? The United States of America? This is not our America anymore. It is not the America of 30, 40, 50 years ago. It simply is not. Excuse me. He said the blanket statement that donating to any groups that were considered a threat to the military and government was punishable under military regulations. Said there was a blanket statement. He said, my first concern was if I was going to be in trouble going to church, the evangelical Christian soldier told me. Can I tithe? Can I donate to Christian charities? What if I donate to a politician who's part of the Tea Party movement? Well, you'll be thrown in the brink for that one. Another soldier who attended the briefing alerted the Chaplain Alliance for Religious Liberty. That individual's recollections of the briefing matched the soldier who reached out to me. Quote, I was very shocked and couldn't believe what I was hearing, the soldier said. I felt like my religious liberties that I risked my life and sacrificed time away from family to fight for were being taken away. And while a large portion of the briefing dealt with the threat evangelicals and the Tea Party pose to the nation, barely a word was said about Islamic extremism, the soldier said. I understand that's also Grover Norquist's problem over there at Americans for Tax Reform. Let's see. That's enough. So I say this. You, whether you're active, whether you're supportive in some other way, or whether you just agree with the constitutional movement, whether we call it the Tea Party movement, the conservative movement, or what have you. You're all we have. You are the last line of defense. That's why you're under attack. You're under attack by the radical left, which now controls the Democrat Party, hook, line, and sinker. You're under attack by the Republican establishment, which supports the status quo and is neo-statist. You're under attack by the media. You're under attack by these groups that have their inside the Beltway, their Washington agenda, and are barnacles on the side of the federal Leviathan. And you're under attack by the federal government itself, whether it's the Internal Revenue Service or these people doing briefings at Fort Hood, and it's not just Fort Hood. We've seen it at the Agriculture Department. We've seen it in other places, too. Let me put it another way. These people despise we the people. Hardworking, regular Americans who've had enough. The Tea Party phrase, they use that phrase on the left, in government, in the Republican Party, you name it, as a way to attack we the people. We the people who are supposed to be the sovereign. But they figure they can just attack us by that name because they're gutless. So we have a fight ahead of us, and we're up to it. We're up to it. And the fact that they're all upset, the fact that they call us names, the fact they talk about us needing to be rehabilitated and stuff like that, wear it as a badge of honor. I don't care if it's my last breath. We're going to fight these people. We're going to fight them right to the end. Let's go to Maven in Virginia, the great WMAL. Go.
Good evening, sir. Well, I heard you talking about the Fort Hood briefing, and I feel like I can give you some insight.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of my field, and I had some friends, and they've done some looking into it, and it was one guy. It's definitely not the Army's official position. It's not something we teach to anyone, and he decided to go looking through the internet. But and he came across this briefing that, Todd Starnes has written on before that you've warned people about. So literally it was one guy who went off script and was running his own mouth on his own accord.
And what's happened to this guy?
We don't know. We're looking to find out, obviously. Well, to put your mind and the audience's mind at ease, there are far more people listening to your radio show tonight than listen to that briefing in the same field as I am. That would be the same ones that be giving a much different briefing. That is complete opposite. I've sat through the same briefing before. I'm sorry, the same type of briefing where we spend far more time looking at people like Nidal Hasan than we do anybody like the Tea Party groups.
Well, I hope so, but we get a report out of Homeland Security a few years ago. We get a report of one of these guys at the Agriculture Department. We get a report that this group CARE is training FBI agents in some way or another. Then we hear stuff like this. So something's going on.
I know, and but to say that we there are friendly people within it who look at it, and we kind of get a chuckle when they do these things, and we kind of ask, where are you guys getting this information from? Because for one, you're not asking people who are involved. And I work with far more Tea Party members in my own organization than I have any lefties. And by 99 to 1.
Well, how do you know they're Tea Party members?
Because two of us were standing in your book signing at the Tyson's Corner Barnes & Noble.
Is that right? And were you one of the last guys to come up to me?
I was the guy that gave you the bumper stickers that said, remember Benghazi.
How about that? I remember you. You're a good guy.
I first started listening to you as well as, I first started listening to you primarily when I was in Afghanistan the first time on your podcast. And as soon as I could get the internet, the second time I was in Afghanistan, every night I was downloading your podcast. In fact, I still have the one of your show after the disastrous Roberts decision on Obamacare.
Well, you're very, very kind, and I consider you an authority. So you're telling the audience, look, this happens from time to time, but it's not widespread.
Well, it doesn't happen from time to time. This is the first time I've ever heard it happening from someone in my field who's done this. I've given these briefings to thousands of people over the course of a decade and a half now, and this is the first time I've ever heard of someone explicitly pointing out a domestic group.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who this guy is?
I don't, but I'm sure we'll find out who he is in short order.
And that'll be the end of that?
He's probably not long for this field now.
Excellent. Yeah. How'd you like the book, by the way?
I'm still working through it. I got a lot of college going on right now. But I'm still working through it, and I'm pushing my own state rep to try and get something done. And I'm every time I get a chance to ask my state representatives back home, I ask them if they would support such a movement, because I think it needs to get done, especially removal of the 17th Amendment. That right there has killed this country more than any domestic radical group, quote, air quotes there, ever could.
All right, Maven. It's an honor and a pleasure, and thank you for your information. That's extremely useful. And God bless you, brother. That's Maven. It's not really Maven, but that's the name we gave him so he doesn't get in trouble.